The New York Football Jets. No, it is not Joe Namath coming to town. No, Aaron Rodgers has left the building. But it is Mr. Justin Fields coming in to hopefully save a franchise that has been quite depressed these past 5-10 years there. I think he went from trying to do it in Chicago, didn't quite work for those guys. So hopefully the New Yorkers can have a little bit better of luck here. We've got this Jets team that was 5-12 last year. And it's a team that fires their head coach and Saleh during middle of the season. They bring in Aaron Glenn, and they have a lot of changeover. Hopefully for the better for the New York fans here. We're gonna go through these losses, additions. Derek's gonna talk about, hey, how does this roster look like? We'll do our takeaways. We'll talk major injuries, fantasy football takes, and of course, what you all came for, the actionable best bets for the New York Jets here. Without further ado, let's get it started. I've got the easy job of just listing them off. Maybe not so easy with these Jets, who seem to have let everybody and their mother go this offseason.
No doubt.
So, starting with Mr. Aaron Rodgers, he went and got a ring and shipped off to Pittsburgh. Davante Adams, he is now back in there. He's in LA with the Rams. Tyler Conklin in LA with the Chargers. Morgan Moses is gone. We were just talking about him on the Pats. Tyron Smith is hung it up. Hassan Reddick, who kind of played for the Jets last year when they decided to pay him, is now in Tampa Bay. Kinlaw, Solomon Thomas, some projects that didn't really fan out. CJ Mosley, a bit of a surprise, has been released and is a free agent. DJ Reed is now gone and on the Lions. Ashton Davis, Chuck Clark have moved on. And even Greg the Leg is no longer here for New York, down in San Francisco there. The additions, I talked about him, Mr. Justin Fields, QB1. You've got the first-round draft pick, Armand Membu. Surprised that the Jets made the right pick there and taking an actual offensive lineman they need, so good for them. Mason Taylor comes to be the tight end 1 out of LSU. Bring in a couple offensive linemen, some defensive linemen. Bring over Stevens, starting cornerback from Baltimore. And then Andre Cisco coming over from the Jaguars there. So we lost a lot. We added some, whether through the draft or free agency. Where are we at with this Jets team in 2025? Did we get better? Did we get worse? What are we worried about with this team?
I don't know what to think about this team. I know that they're not going to be very good. Once again, I'll throw that out there. But
that's your opinion. I differ on this team.
I don't expect them to be very good. Justin Fields, I think, is an interesting guy. I as a Buckeyes fan, I'm a big Justin Fields fan. He just hasn't panned out once he's gotten to the NFL. Yeah, I mean, he had a couple decent seasons in Chicago, the mess of a franchise that has been. Hopefully they can rebound. But he came to Pittsburgh, had a pretty damn good start to the year. I think going 4-1, 4-2, something like that in the first handful of games while Russ was getting healed up. But I think this is a ground and pound team at this point. You got Breece Hall, you got Braylon Allen, now you add Justin Fields to that backfield. I would not be surprised if they average 25 carries a game between the three of them. Justin Fields might take off 10 times. Breece Hall might carry the ball 10, 15, 20 times. Because outside of Garrett Wilson, wide receivers don't really impress me. They Josh Reynolds is a good player, but I don't necessarily know if he's a true wide receiver too. Same thing with Allen Lazard. You do have an upgrade in Mason Taylor. And then on the offensive line, like you said, I mean, they've actually taken offensive tackles in both of the last two drafts in the first round. Right. So between Fashanu and Membu, they should have a greatly improved offensive tackle situation. But at the end of the day, you still have, a rookie and a second year offensive tackle starting for your football club. Defensively, I think they've taken a step back. They lost a ton of talent. Whether it's, Reddick that sort of didn't really touch the field. CJ Mosley has been the heart and soul of that defense, and now he's been let go. DJ Reed was, or has been a decent player in the past, and then at safety between Davis and Chuck Clark, you lose those guys too. So you bring in Brandon Stevens to kind of fill the gap there. Linebackers, I don't really know outside of Quincy Williams. Sherwood's okay, but I don't know if that crew is necessarily exciting me at all. And then on the defensive line, you still have Quinnen Williams and Jermaine Johnson, but we'll talk about those guys here, or at least Jermaine Johnson here in a little bit. But yeah, I think the defense is taking a step back. Hopefully Aaron Glenn can, rally the defensive side of the ball now that he's in New York. But yeah, at the end of the day, the roster still needs some talent. They made a lot of moves, but they still need some more.
Yeah, no, this is an interesting team again, much like the Patriots. I think this is an interesting division, but
Yeah.
I'm a little bit more optimistic, and here's why. The reason
Okay.
being the O-line. I'm a big O-line guy.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it all starts up front, and I think that on paper, this is actually a probably top 15, not if not top 10 offensive line. You've got Vera Tucker, you've got Fashano, you've got Membu. That's 3 first-round picks there. Simpson and Tippmann's been a good player for them. This should be a solid offensive line, which Justin Field needs. You've got 2 capable running backs. Whether or not who's going to be the RB1 and what the split's going to look like is a different conversation we'll talk about.
Sure.
But Braylon Allen and Breece Hall is solid, and then you have a dominant wide receiver 1. Now, absolutely wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, and tight end, a little bit of a mystery. But I think that Justin Fields, when he had success in Chicago with DJ Moore, it was just he never had an offensive line like this. And even in Pittsburgh last year, the offensive line, I would say, wasn't as good as this is going to be. So I think Fields needs a solid offensive line, and he needs the ability for a team to be able to be a run-first team, which I think, Aaron Glenn is going to bring that mentality. Now with the defense, you definitely did mention it, and I agree with you that the talent has not quite as dominant as we were seeing, past couple of years when they were with Zach Wilson and their just offense was abysmal. But that's where Aaron Glenn, the expectation is he's able to take these guys and kind of elevate them to a bit of a higher level there. There is still some talent. I think Sherwood led the team in tackles last year. Williams is solid there. Quinn Williams and that defensive line is going to have a big year, essentially.
Yeah.
Will McDonald, 10.5 sacks last year, which was very impressive as a rookie. So what can he be? We'll talk about Jermaine Johnson and if he's going to be able to come back this year. The secondary outside of Sauce Gardner, gives me a little bit of pause. I will say that. But I am a little bit cautiously optimistic. Of course, we're talking about the Jets, so I have to say cautiously. Now, the difference here we're going to get to is the expectations from Vegas and the sports books are vastly different when we talk about the Jets and we talk about the Patriots, despite the Jets actually winning one more game than the Patriots last year. So, bit interesting, but let's talk about some of these injuries. Really just one big one. One minor one we'll mention. Justin Fields had a little bit of an injury scare. It dislocated his toe. Wasn't his big toe, which would have made things more complicated. He's already back at practice. He participated in 11-on-11s today. Excuse me, getting the hiccups. But really kind of just a scare. Nothing.
Yes.
He's going to be perfectly fine. Jermaine Johnson is the big one.
Yeah.
Achilles tendon tear, which connects to your calf muscle to the back of your heel there. Major injury, major surgery, typically a 10 to 12 month recovery timeline. Now, because he injured himself in week 2, that sucks because he missed most of the year. But the good thing is he's got 11 and a half months of recovery time until week 1. So where are we at with Jermaine Johnson? A brutal injury to come back from. However, he does have a little bit going for him with, having the extra time.
Yeah, I think he should be good to go, basically from the get-go. I think the big thing is not only does he have 11 and a half months to come back from this, he's got the timeline on his side, but you also have a couple other studs that defenses have to account for in Quentin Williams and Will McDonald. So, yes, he's missed a year of football. You don't get better at football by not playing football. But I think defenses are still going to have to respect the monster of Quentin Williams, and then on the other side, Will McDonald.
Yeah.
So I think Jermaine Johnson, will it take him a couple weeks to get rolling? Probably, but I think we can expect some decent things out of him.
Yeah, no, and I think you bring up a good point. If he doesn't have to be the guy right away, right? You obviously have Quinn Williams in the middle, and if you can get Will McDonald on the other side to
Right.
continue his success from his rookie season, yeah, it just allows a little bit easier of a job, better matchups for Jermaine Johnson, who was a solid player, when healthy.
Yeah.
He is still on the pup. He has not been activated yet, so again, there's still time.
Yep.
Still 5+ weeks, if not 6 weeks, until NFL Week 1. So we're not, no alarms yet. We'd like to see him have about a month, 3 weeks to ramp up and get to practice and do those things. So
Yep.
if a couple weeks from now he's still on the pup, then yeah, maybe we've got some questions. But
yes, if we're going into week 3 of the preseason and he hasn't been taken off the pup, now I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. But I would not be too surprised if he gets released from the pup, so at least he can start practicing. Will he make
right.
the field for preseason games? I still doubt it.
Probably not. No, but yeah, no, like you said, and yeah, good point there. Pup at this point, it's not like Pup in the regular season when we get down to 53-man rosters where they are mandatory 4 games.
Yep.
They can be activated at any time. So not really as daunting or anything too big of implications like it is during the season.
Yep.
All right, let's step on over in this betting space here. This is a 5-12 team last season. They now have a much more reasonable either 5.5 or 6.5 win total, depending on where you're looking at it. Some juice to the over, -125, +105 on FanDuel for the under. But, on DK, it's -155 and +130. So some variability there. We can talk the 6.5 as well, but we'll go to the futures. Make playoffs anywhere from +475 to +450 or 540, excuse me. Miss playoffs anywhere from -850 to -700. To win the AFC East, 20-1, 18-1. To win the AFC, 100-1, 130-1, and then Super Bowl, 25-28-1. So, are we talking any win total futures for this team?
Yeah. So you almost talked me into 5.5, almost, but I just can't trust the New York Jets at the end of the day. I think it's one of those things where you got a lot of moving pieces coming in on the offense, whether it's some new O-line pieces that should be better, but we don't know that yet. And Justin Fields at quarterback, you also don't know with the new regime how they're going to split carries and really dive into ball distribution. So I'm going to stay away from the total, and I don't think they're making the playoffs, and it's just too steep of a number to throw anything on the missed playoffs.
Yeah, the Jets burned us a bit last year. I wanted to come in and be pessimistic and be fading this team, but I think it's partially because I do think they're a better team than last year, top to bottom. The offensive line is big for me. I think that they have one of the better offensive lines, and they're kind of being slept on right now. And I think Aaron Glenn is going to be able to do some things with this defense where I think the Patriots and a team we're going to talk about here in a second, and the Dolphins, have a lot of question marks. So I'm going to go over 5.5 wins at -125 as kind of the base play there, because I think that they do have a pretty easy schedule. Who does they get? I think they get let me see here. So they get the AFC North, which is tough, obviously, but then they also get the NFC South. So there's some winnable games in there. They're playing a third place schedule. You got Jacksonville, I think Miami and New England. I think those are games right now. Carolina's on the schedule. So I just think that Justin Fields was 4-2 as a starter with a better offensive line now. I'm not going to say that they have a better defense than the Steelers, but they have, similar makeup of the offense, and I think a better offensive line. So I think Fields can thrive a little bit here. Now, I'm also going to play a little bit of a variance here.
Okay.
We talked about make playoffs. So no team under 10 wins made the playoffs last season, even with the 7 slots in either conference.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of taking them to make the playoffs in a situation where they, do well, I'm going to take them over 9.5 wins
Okay.
at plus 700.
Okay. Following your,
Again,
your
variance.
financial logic there.
Well, I was kind of like, well, playoffs, but is that enough? So I was like, well, look, that doesn't really make sense based off the numbers. So
Right.
I went and, again, FanDuel is kind of fading them a little bit harder than DraftKings. So it's at FanDuel. I don't think you're getting the playoffs without 10 wins.
Sure.
So I'll take the 7-1 as opposed to closer to 5-1 for that high variance situation.
Yeah.
They're not better than the Bills. We'll talk about the Bills. They're not better than the Bills, but I think I can make a case for them being the second best team in this division and, putting some things together and sneaking into the playoffs. Now, we'll see. They are the Jets, so that's what pauses me from going, very much in on them. But I do think that they are at least a 6-win team, and I think they have potential to be a, 7th round, like wild card team sneaking in with 10 wins. So,
Okay.
where are you at with player props for this team?
I sort of mentioned it and showed my cards earlier, but give me Garrett Wilson to go over 1,000 receiving yards once again. I mean, this just comes down to health for him. If he stays healthy, he plays 16, 17 games, he's going to go over 1,000 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
He's done it all 3 years that he's been in the NFL. You have a new quarterback, but they already have a connection between the two of them from college. So give me Garrett Wilson over 1,000 receiving yards at plus 125.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have to say much. I got the same bet, co-signed that as well. We talked about a lot in fantasy in the realm. Former teammates, he can produce a wide receiver one. He's super, super talented guy. He's going to get 125 plus targets.
Yep.
Outside of health is a smash play. And he's stayed healthy enough to do it every year. So why bet against him? So,
Yep.
All right, these 2025 New York Football Jets. Both of us think that they have potential to be a better team. I'm a little bit more confident. I will be taking their over 5.5. I will also be playing a situation where Justin Fields, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and Garrett Wilson, and this improved offensive line can do enough behind a good defense to sneak in the playoffs. That's over 9.5 wins at 7-1. And we both love Garrett Wilson, think he's completely undervalued. Give us 1,000 yards at plus 125.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.